Hi guys, and welcome back to today's episode number 4 of the new rifle series. Today we're talking rifle chassis system. Well, a chassis is not just a piece of aluminium. It is the backbone of accuracy, translating recoil, balance and comfort into consistent performance. So let's dive into the chassis systems. And for this video, we are sticking to South African companies who build rifle chassis systems. For YouTube, this is Rifle Chassis Systems. It is an upgrade from a stock to an aluminium chassis, which increases performance. It is not a modification to any part of the rifle. It is just a piece of kit that we put onto the rifle to increase accuracy. So at least then this video can make it onto YouTube. So guys, let's dive into the 5 companies that we have in South Africa. We are very lucky to have 5 different companies building homemade chassis. So we are all familiar with some of them and some of them not so much. So the 5 companies we are looking at today is Gun Warrior, AIM Engineering, BBG with their Night Fury series, STG, Servile Tactical Gear, and the last one, Arms CC in Pretoria. So they are the 5 companies that we're going to be looking at. I'm going to give each of them their claim to fame or their 2 minutes to fame, explaining to you what chassis systems they have in very short, and what the flagship chassis for each of these companies would be and what the price would be if you want to acquire one. There's no loser, there's no winner. It's purely discussing the chassis systems with you to give you the information so you can go forward making a good decision on what you want to put on. At the end of this video, I'll of course choose one for that 2 to 3 that I bought in episode number 1 and to put everything together to take it to the range. So stay tuned, let's run through the chassis. The first company we're going to be talking about is Gun Warrior. Gun Warrior is based in Centurion, Pretoria, and they manufacture the chassis out of the workshop there. They have the Gen 7, which means they've got 7 generations of chassis, making changes and making it more accessible and easier to use for the client as they've gone along. So they are on the Gen 7, so you'll hear me referring to the Gen 7. And this is because they are on the 7th generation. So this is what the standard, let's see if I can get it in the light, but I'll bring it closer for you. This is what the Gen 7 looks like. Without the top rail, you can start without the top rail, but this is basically what it would look like. This is the standard chassis starting at about 13,800 Rand. And it all depends on what front rail you want to put on and what grip you want to put on. And you can end up close to about 17,000 for the normal Gen 7. They have also got the Gen 7 rimfire for the 2.2 guys, and they have then the Gen 7 comp. And I call this their flagship chassis because this is the leading sale chassis. So I'll bring up a picture on the front so you can quickly have a look at this. This has got the slanted barricade stop, doesn't have a rail on the top, and it has a few things at the back. The comp is also a little bit thicker, it's a little bit heavier, and there's a few features that's changed. I'm going to bring up a picture from their website so you can see on the picture what the features on the Gen 7 actually is. So with this picture on the screen, you can see starting from the front, you've got the night vision rail, which is an add-on, the convenient weight attachment point, which is also the M-lock slots, which is the industry standard. It has got a flat barricade stop. Helps for gripping on the surfaces. It's got a mag release as always, the integrated bag rider, the thumb shelf on the side, and you've got the accessories at the top for the accessory attachment point on the Comp 7. That is what the Gen 7 Comp looks like. Unfortunately, I don't have one. That's why I brought up the picture just to show you what the difference is between the normal Gen 7 and the Gen 7 Comp is. It's basically designed for PRS shooters that want that little bit of extra weight on the front to keep it balanced. Warrior also has a Gen 7 ELR chassis built for the guys doing the extreme long range shooting. It's a lot heavier and it's built in such a way that you put a big bipod on the front and a rear bag at the back and it just slides back on the recoil. But I haven't seen one of those, I haven't used one of those, but it is available from Gun Warrior. So let's talk price. As you may have heard me mention, the Gen 7 starts at about 13,800 Rand and you can work your way up all the way to about 23,000 going for the Comp 7 ELR. So you can find yourself spending anything between 13,800 and 23,000 depending on what you want to use the chassis for. All right, that's Gun Warrior, so let's move on to the next company. The next company we're talking about is Arms CC, also from Pretoria. Seems like all the chassis come from Pretoria, because the next one we're doing is also from Pretoria. Well, let's stick to Arms CC and have a chat about their chassis system. So this is called the CKG, so CKG Tactical Rifle System. And the CKG stands for Chad Kenneth Gilly, who's also the designer and the owner of Arms CC. So this chassis right here is what they would call their flagship chassis. So we're going to be running through the features of this specific chassis, and then we'll tell you what the entry-level chassis excludes from this chassis. So starting from the front, you get a round enclosed forend, which is nice, with the M-lock slots on the side, which makes it weight able. On the bottom, as an added extra from the basic, will be your Unschultz ARCA rail. Coming back to the barricade stop. It is a square, short barricade stop, which houses a 5-shot mag with a 10-shot mag option at an extra price. Nice mag release both sides, so this chassis is also worth mentioning. It's fully ambidextrous and can be made for left and right hand rifles, but it is fully ambidextrous for left hand shooters where the mag is also on that side, or the mag release. So nice feature there. Coming back, they've got a bubble level inside the chassis housing. Coming to the next feature of the flagship chassis is something that everybody's been asking for. It is the fact that it is a foldable chassis system. So you fold the buttstock away. So this is nice. It's a nice feature for transport. If you have a bag that's not large enough to keep the fully length chassis in, as well as the safe. You can always put it on the backside, getting you some extra length inside the rifle safe. So a very neat feature there, and it's nice and sturdy when it clicks in. So it holds position. Coming to the rear end, you got a fully modular cheek piece and fully modular recoil pad. There's also, I don't know if you can see in there, but modular, increasing the length of pull and your cheek piece up and down. So as I said, this is the flagship. This is the all-in chassis. If you buy the bare minimum or the entry-level chassis, it'll cost you 15,000 Rand, and it'll exclude your ARCA rail, and it'll exclude the folding stock, and it gives you one standard color. Moving up, if you want specific spray jobs, they'll give you a quote on that. But if you go all in with all the features, the most expensive it will be without the paint will be 22,000. So nice and sturdy, nice chassis. In terms of length, let's do a small comparison on the Warrior because we've done that. Just in terms of length, pretty much the same length. Weight-wise, pretty much the same weight. So very good option there if you want modularity and a foldable cheek piece. So one great feature about this for the 303 guys, this is probably the only chassis in South Africa that can house a 303 Mauser. So guys, I'll put the number in the description below. If you want to upgrade your 303 to a aluminium chassis, these are the people that you need to go and see. The next company we're looking at is AIM Engineering. And you guessed it, they're also based in Pretoria. So AIM Engineering has got also a variety of chassis where they go for the rimfire, which is the Bravo 22 and the Delta 22, which is rimfire based, basically a bucky gun and a competition setup. And then they've got the Alpha Elite, which is their crossover between the hunters who want to shoot competition or the competition shooters who want to hunt with their rifle. And then you have the flagship Delta. So you've seen this one on the channel before. It's an annoying blue, which I cannot seem to not love. So I've been keeping this around, and this is the flagship chassis. So as with both other chassis that we had before, fully modular at the back, recoil pad and cheek piece. The only difference here is the cheek piece is movable left and right, and the recoil pad can tilt left and right. But modular at the back, grip just as the same as before, mag release and a aggressive barricade stop. I don't know if you can see that over there. Coming here, nice and long front end. I'll give you a comparison again with the Warrior in terms of length, pretty much the same length. It is M-lock slots on the side, both sides. As you can see, this one's already weighted both sides. And turn around both sides. You have the addition of the ARCA weights in the bottom. And as with the Gen 7, weights that go underneath the barrel. So pretty much the same. Let me pull this one off the shelf here. Do a quick comparison for you. I'll see if I can zoom in a bit with the light shining on it. Pretty much the same length. If I just kind of line it up there. Pretty much the same length. well, this one's got weights in and this one's got more weights on. So in terms of weight, I can't really tell you bare chassis which one is lighter, but they are both used for competition shooting and both has been weighted. This is just a friend of mine. This is my personal one that I used to shoot with when I still had the 6.5, but it is pretty much the same length, same weight. As you can see there, I'll see if I can zoom in, just see a little bit of a pan on them. But they weigh pretty much the same both ways. This is the Delta. So if you're looking at buying the Alpha Elite, it's about 8,400, which also includes a built-in ARCA rail. It's also weightable on the side. It's about 8,400. The Flagship over here, I think it's 10,700, excluding all the weights. So you just basically get that plus the top rail for 10,700, and you can add weights everywhere. I think the complete kit's about 2.5 grand. So you're in for about 14,000. Just under 14,000, fully kitted, fully weighted. So that is the AIM Engineering chassis. So before we move on to the next company, these three are very similar, where they are all weight able on the side. Warrior, you can put the weights underneath the barrel. They've got nice, neat little blocks that goes underneath it. As well, the only addition to weight is the internal weights on the ARCA rail at the bottom. But pretty much the same weight, same length. It is also aluminium, so it does very well. It's purely about which one you like more. So let's go on to the next company. The next company is BBG Engineering. They have a rifle chassis system named the Night Fury system. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my hands on one of their chassis to compare it to the three behind me, but I'll give you everything that they have on the website. So let me take you to the website real quick, just to give you a lowdown. They have Night Fury System 1, which is the entry level, all the way down to Night Fury System number 10, which is their flagship. So let me pull up their website for you and we'll quickly run through where and what is the differences. Unfortunately, I would love to show you to it, but as I said, I couldn't get my hands on one. So let's have a look at the website real quick. With the website open over here, you'll see that going down, you get the Night Fury System number 1, which is 9,350. And as you go along, it's System 2, System 3, System 4, as you can see, the price increases. As you can see on the picture, you can see what is added on there. So let's go to System number 10, which is their flagship chassis. And just let it load, there we go. The flagship chassis looks like this. You got a fully modular back end, as you can see on the picture. Grip, almost like the AIM Engineering grip. Magwell, also almost 90 degrees going down. I can see there's a built-in ARCA rail, weights on the side, and a top rail. So pretty much just like all the other chassis we have, and this one is 21,170. Let's call it 21,000 Rand for the flagship chassis. So as you can see, with every aluminium chassis, you are pretty much bound to what the client base wants. You got the back end, you got the fore end, which is weighted, you got the ARCA rail, and it's just the weight and the accessories that differ. And that is BBG Engineering. And as you guessed it, they are also based in Centurion. So if you want to have a good drive, you can go to all of these chassis manufacturers in one day, as they're all based in Centurion. So guys, let's move over to the last but not least company, and let me explain to you what they have to offer. Company number 5, STG, Serval Tactical Gear. So they are also in Pretoria, but luckily not in Centurion. They're a little bit further north. They are based in Roslyn. And they have based their rifle chassis system on simplicity and non-over-engineered chassis. STG offers 3 options, and they've changed it up a little bit. Instead, like Warrior that went Gen 7 for the basic, Gen 7 comp for the competition, and Gen 7 for the ELR, and as well as AIM that went Alpha then Delta, they went with 3 models for 3 different inlets. So they've got the Invictus, the Maximus, and the Raven. So the Invictus is for the Howa and Remington short actions. The Maximus is for the long range, for the PRS guys, which also includes has an increased mag capability. And then they have the Raven, which is for the Tikkas. So they've based their models on the inlet, whereas AIM and Warrior has based it on the actual use of the chassis. So STG, just like all of the other chassis, I think the lightest chassis out of all of them was 1.6. STG is giving you 2 to 2.2 kilos of weight. So again, unfortunately, I couldn't get my hands on an STG. So let's quickly hit their website and quickly just show you what they look like. Alright, so when we get to the website, nice and simple website, takes you straight to the chassis systems. You've got the Invictus, which is the short action, as I mentioned, starting from 9,000 Rand. You have the Maximus, which is for the long action PR or PRC chassis, which is 9,500. And then you get the Raven, which is based on the Tikka T3. So you can go and click on the specifications, and it'll give you what the specifications for each of the chassis are. As I said, 2.2 on that one, and this one might be a little bit heavier at 2.5. So STG doesn't really have a flagship chassis. Because they based it on the inlet, they have 3 chassis that you can choose of depending on your inlet. So what I would say is that the Maximus, the big one, the PRS, is the flagship as it is built for long range shooting. Based off what Warrior and Arms and AIM was doing, is the bigger, heavier bulker would become their flagship chassis. So the Maximus, in my opinion, would become their flagship chassis. Unfortunately, I couldn't get you one of those, but I would have loved to compare it to the ones at the back. I think a very good video would be to take a barreled action, put it in a Hogue stock or a very wood stock, and then take it from there into all of these chassis that are built on Howa to see if they actually make a difference. And I wouldn't be shooting it because I would have a biased opinion, but get 3 or 4 guys willing to shoot for us, and then after shooting telling us what the differences between the 3 or the 4 chassis would be. If you'd like a video like that, please comment in this video below, say, I'd like the chassis video, and we'll see that we get to it. So there you have it, guys. 5 different South African companies bringing their own personal style to the PRS world. Gun Warrior offering you competition-ready builds. AIM Engineering offering you balance and value. Arms offering you versatility and compatibility. STG offering you simplicity, and Night Fury offering you modularity. So you have all of these options. The question to it all is, what fits your mission and your style? I think they're all fantastic chassis. I like to support local. There are various aspects to each chassis that will make one chassis better than the other for your specific needs. But I think comment in the video below what your questions would be. So let's see if we can have the guys from Warrior, AIM, STG, and BBG and Arms also just answer the questions in this video if you have any. I'll put all of the contact details for each of the companies in the description below, but you can find most of these chassis on our website. Guys, I hope that the information and the comparison between these chassis were good enough to show you the differences between them and a little bit of the price value. Unfortunately, I'm not going to pick one. It is because it's all South African and you can make the decision for yourself. Guys, the next video in the series would be loading and taking the gun to the range, so stay tuned for episode number 5. Thanks for supporting me so far. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.